Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Is everyone okay to just add something to the chat thread so we can make sure that you can actually hear us? Brilliant. Hello. Oh, okay, that's overwhelming. Thank you. Okay, so we're clearly up and running. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Lebo, and I'm head of media and film studies here at Esher Sixth Form College. And this evening, I'm fortunate enough to be joined in no particular order by Stavon, who is one of our students on the BTEC diploma in film and television production, Becky Voller, who is divisional director for creative arts and recreation, and Shanti Sapaya, who's our BTEC lead within the department. So if you'd like to start adding your questions to the chat thread, and we can start answering those for you. Okay, well, maybe while people are thinking about questions and kind of and maybe typing as well, maybe if I just say a little bit about the department and what we actually offer, and kind of run through some of the things that we often get asked a lot. So within the department, we've actually got 4 courses on offer, which is absolutely brilliant because it means that we can essentially offer a course that's appropriate for any kind of student who wishes to study either film or media studies. So we've got an A level in film studies, we have an A level in media studies, and then, rather interestingly, we've also got 2 different BTEC qualifications. So one of those is a diploma in film and TV production, which is the course that Stefan is taking. And then we also offer a very, very similar course, but it's slightly smaller in terms of the qualification size, and that is an extended certificate in digital film and video production. So I think what I'll do is I'll pass you over to some of the team members, and we'll kind of talk through those in due course. But I can see that we've now got some questions appearing on the chat thread. So I'm just going to scroll back and have a look at those. So if I go with the first question about what films you study, well, if you're asking about the A-level film studies, we study 13 films across the 2 years. We study 2 for classical Hollywood from 1930 and new Hollywood period that takes us up to 1990. So the 2 films we look at for that are Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo and Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. For the second section of that exam, we look at contemporary Hollywood. So we look at the independent film Captain Fantastic and Christopher Nolan's Inception. And then for the third section of that exam, we look at British cinema since 1995. So we look at Shane Meadows' This Is England, and we look at uh, uh, We Need to Talk About Kevin. Then for the second exam paper, we look at 2 films that the exam will class as kind of global films. So we look at City of God from Brazil and Pan's Labyrinth from Spain. We then look at Sisters-in-Law, a documentary film for section B. We look at Sergei Eisenstein's Soviet montage masterpiece Strike, and we currently look at Pulp Fiction as an example of experimental cinema. And then perhaps Becky, could you say something about how we look at films within media studies as well?
Absolutely. So in media studies, we look at a film marketing unit and we will explore 2 types of film: an independent film, I, Daniel Blake, and a mainstream conglomerate produced film, Disney film, Black Panther. And we look very much at sort of the marketing and distribution of films and the impact of having different amounts of sort of financial input into those movies. So obviously Disney has an enormous amount of money, and so the kind of marketing and distribution campaigns that they can offer are very, very different to a small independently produced film. So that's the sort of angle that we take very much on the in the media studies A level. And we also, as part of our coursework, offer a film marketing brief where you can make a DVD cover and 2 promotional posters for a new film of your own imagining. And we teach you how to use Adobe Photoshop and use cameras and all that sort of thing. And you also get to make a podcast promoting your new movie. Does that answer your question, Lee?
Oh, I think that does. Brilliant. Thank you,
Thank
Becky.
you.
And then I've noticed Lawrence has posted the question about whether we require any prior experience for the A level. So I'm not sure whether you're asking about A level film studies or media studies, but the answer is kind of the same for both. We don't require any prior experience of either of those subjects. So some of our students come to us having taken either media studies or film studies at GCSE, but a lot of them don't. So we wouldn't look for that previous experience, to be honest. And then I've noticed we've got a next question in there is, would we learn how to script how scripts are written for film and TV and media? So I think I'm assuming that's kind of more of a BTEC question. So if I pass you over to Shanti to field that one. Uh,
Okay, hiya. So for our BTEC courses, we offer two courses. One is a course equivalent to one A level, and that's called the Digital Video and Film Production. And we also have another course which is equivalent to two A levels, so it's a diploma, and that's for film and television. In both of these courses, we do cover the script writing unit. So if that answers the question.
we do additionally have a on the A level film studies, script writing is one of the options, but that would be script writing specifically for short films, so it wouldn't be for television or any other media format. And then underneath, I've noticed Leah's asked the question: should you take A-level film or English literature? And you've heard that they have similar skills and interchangeable. Yeah, that is right. You know, there is a reasonable amount of crossover in terms of the analytical skills and the communication skills and the essay writing skills, formulating arguments, all of those great things that kind of universities, employers, and apprenticeship providers are looking for. Uh, they're very, very different in terms of the subject knowledge you would gain, though, and some of the other skills. So the A-level film studies does have a coursework element in it, which I've noticed we got a question underneath, and that's worth 30% of the overall grade. So in addition to learning how to analyze films and write about films and improve your essay writing and analytical skills, you would also have the option to kind of learn about script writing, as we've mentioned as part of that, and also filmmaking if you'd want to. So whether you should take English literature or A level, uh, I'll throw out there as a suggestion that you could possibly take both if you're really interested in both. We do have students that do that, but I think it would come down to what you're probably most interested in. And then I've noticed the next question is from Brendan. So it's about project work in terms of BTEC digital film and TV production. So maybe if I throw that question over to Stavon and Shanti to answer.
Okay, hiya. So, in terms of the sort of units that are covered, there's quite a wide range that is covered on our courses. And they are a combination of research and writing work along with practical work. So some of the units, if I could list a few off the top of my head, are things like single camera techniques where they have to produce a music video. We also have lighting techniques where students look at how to produce a sequence or an extract from a following the film noir style. We also have a sound editing unit. There's a film editing unit as well, along with a film production unit. And also, just while I can add this important thing, we also in our BTEC courses do have externally examined units. So on the digital video and film production, there is one exam that students have to sit. This is a practical exam and it will fall in their second year. And for the diploma students, the film and television diploma, they have two exams in their second year, both externally examined and in their second year. I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Thank you, Shanti. So I'll just maybe answer the next question about the final project in film studies. So the film studies A level, the final thing that our students have to sit would be two kind of written formal exams. But in terms of sort of project work at the tail end of the first year and running into the second year, that's when our A level film studies students undertake their component 3 coursework. And the options for that are either to produce a short film, which has to be accompanied by a piece of writing referred to as the evaluative analysis, or the alternative option is to produce a script accompanying storyboard and the evaluative analysis. Uh, so then I've noticed the next question is about kind of creating own films in film and television. So Stavon, could I pass that question over to you?
Yeah, in the course, you get to like make short films, like for the film editing course that I did, we had to do like a trailer for it. It was very fun, very productive. I loved it. And for the lighting as well, as Santi said, you get to do a short noir style film. So yeah, we do get to create film in film and television, and all of that can go towards your portfolio for like university and like working in the film industry. So it's very useful. And in your own free time as well, we do have filming equipment, so you can take them out totally free, no charge at all, and you can go film any of your ideas, like any of your short films ideas in your free time, just whenever. So yeah, you can definitely create your own film in film and television.
Brilliant, thank you. And then Becky, maybe if you could field the next question about sort of entry requirements and perhaps say a little bit about the general entry requirements for the college.
Okay, so you will need to attain 5 GCSEs, grades 4 and above is our minimum entry requirement. Our courses do require that you have English language as a GCSE because there is a written component in all of the subjects, including the BTECs, where you're doing lots of research and writing up your research and ideas and development and pre-production work. And obviously in the A-level film and media studies, there is quite a bit of essay writing and preparing you for the examination. So we do recommend that you have, and we do require you to have the English. We feel that's really important to sort of allow you to succeed on the course. You don't have to have film studies GCSE or media GCSE to do any of our courses. We have an induction period where we train students up in sort of key concepts. Obviously, if you do have GCSE or indeed a BTEC at level 2 in a media-based course or film-based course, then that's fantastic. But we do train everyone up. We feel that's really important. And to be honest, after a long summer, even people who've done GCSE have often forgotten some of the key terms and ideas. So we give you a kind of induction for about 6 weeks, training you up on the key terminology and the key ideas around the course. So you get a really good foundation.
That's brilliant, thank you. And then I've just noticed someone's asked about the kind of workload for A-level media studies. So I'd say probably all of the A-level courses across college, the workload is evenly balanced, and so media studies kind of fits in with that. Uh, as a general trend, I'm sure you've heard this tonight from Dan, and you'll be hearing it a lot more from your teachers. You know, the expectation on any course here is the requirement for students to undertake 10 hours of work per week per subject. Obviously, for the double BTEC that counts as 2 subjects, that would be 20 hours of work. So that 10 hours of work would include all of a student's lessons, which comes to 4 hours and 25 minutes currently. And so what we would be expecting is that students are using their private study periods and their kind of homework time, evenings and weekends, to undertake around kind of 4 to 6 hours on work on top of that kind of lesson time. And that work would kind of be a mixture of things. So some of that would be really kind of reactive work where we set kind of student specific essay questions, specific tasks to undertake. But a lot of it would include kind of self-directed study by the student, kind of revising key terminology, kind of looking over notes, kind of coming up with alternative ways and interesting ways to make sure that they're revising and consolidating their knowledge. And that would be the kind of same for media studies and film studies. But I think maybe Shanti could talk a little bit more about the kind of hours on our BTEC courses and the workload on those.
So, sorry, with the digital video and film production, which I said was equivalent to one A level, that will be 4 hours a week. So it's just one subject that they're doing, and then obviously they would choose 2 other subjects. If they are on the film and television diploma course, that will be equivalent to 2 A levels, like what Stefan's doing, and that will be 8 hours a week on their timetable. So they would then choose one other subject. Can I just also add one more thing, Lee? So in terms of the entry requirements for the BTEC, for the film and television diploma, whilst you don't necessarily need any experience, it would be good if you have done like a GCSE in a BTEC or media studies GCSE. If you haven't got either of those, then you will be required to make a short creative video about yourself. So that is so there is a slight additional entry requirement with that if you have not done any BTEC subject at GCSE. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. And then, Stefan, I wonder if you could perhaps talk us through your experiences of the kind of department equipment and kind of give a couple of examples of the sort of things you've used here.
I've used fairly mostly all of the equipment here. There's so many cameras, like you have so many Canon from each one from like 200 Ds to 1200 Ds, and the higher ones, I think the 2500 Ds are better as they bring more quality, easier to use, and they have a touch screen as well. And the lighting equipment here is fantastic from the Aptra. We just got a new lights as well that I've used, and they can become LED lights, and I've used them in horror films that I've actually shot over the summer holidays. And as well as also used a gimbal for music videos, which was very useful for capturing many shots and like many movement as well as for music videos are all about movement. And in range of like editing as well, we do have Adobe softwares, so like Premiere Pro, I think the sound one, I'm sorry, I forgot. But yeah, we also have that Author View as well that we could use for editing. Um, Overall, all the equipment here is fantastic from the lenses that we have, um, high, like I think 200 millimeter lenses and short lenses. Can't really explain, really tired, so sorry. But yeah, um, equipment here is really fantastic. That's all I can say. So
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's really helpful. Thank you. And I think on top of that, we've also got a dedicated studio space where we've got kind of various backdrops. We've got green screening technology in there. All of our classrooms are equipped with PCs where we run the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite. So most of our students learn how to use Premiere Pro, Photoshop. Some of them may also use InDesign, After Effects, that kind of thing. We've got kind of tracks, dollies. Stefan said we've got gimbals, we've got a whole range of lighting equipment. We've also got some fig rigs. We've got a range of different tripods and various other mounts as well. Uh, so I think that's probably a reasonable summary of our equipment. In terms of kind of careers and uni courses our film studies students go on to do, it's really varied. Probably the destinations are as varied as the type of students we get taking our courses. So a lot of our students will go on to university, either study film studies or something else, but equally, you know, we've got currently students at probably most of the universities in the country doing various things. So the students who left last year, some of them are doing English literature, some of them are doing psychology, some are doing sociology. Equally, we've got a large number of students who go directly into employment, and some of those have found work in the industry already, and some of them are working in kind of related industries, and others are kind of working full-time jobs in unrelated fields to film studies. And then I've just noticed in terms of what's the requirements to be successful at film studies beyond the grades. Obviously, the entry grades are useful. They're a kind of a useful benchmark of your likely outcomes. But what I would say is what is equally important is your kind of desire to learn, your desire to push yourself, and your desire to kind of challenge yourself and to take on new skills. And those are the things that are really, really important. And then Becky, I wondered if you wanted to sort of say something about maybe class sizes.
Hello, yes. So the class sizes vary obviously slightly year on year, depending on how popular the subjects are. And we find that across college generally, you know, some things fluctuate and some things particularly on trend some years and less so on others. But they're generally around, for practical subjects, around 18, something like that, between 18 and 20. And kind of the average A level class size is around 22, something like that. And that might, for some of you, be quite a bit bigger than what you're used to in school. For some of you, it might be quite a bit smaller. Apparently, the optimum number of students to have in a room for learning is 21, because it lends itself to a lot of collaboration, group work, discussion. And so that's how we work, generally speaking.
Okay, and then a question about what do media studies lessons look like? I think they're fairly different lesson by lesson. So I would say sort of no two lesson is the same, uh, and we kind of like to mix it up quite a lot. So obviously we need to explore quite a lot of set products dictated by the text. So, one lesson we may be examining a print text, another lesson we may be watching an audio visual text. Lessons revolve around kind of a little bit of teacher-led discussion, a little bit of small group work, pair work, whole class discussion. Sometimes lessons will involve more kind of practical tasks. So fairly early on in the induction period, we kind of do some learning about editing through actually getting some hands-on experience with Premiere Pro. And I think we tend to do similarly when we're kind of teaching students about kind of shot sizes, camera angles, those kind of things. We tend to do a little bit of hands-on stuff with the cameras there. And then obviously when we move into the kind of coursework at the tail end of the first year and start the second year, again, we've kind of got a mixture of kind of whole class and kind of teacher-led discussion, kind of mixed in with quite a lot of kind of really hands-on active stuff, students doing stuff, particularly when they get to the kind of production part. So I would say there's sort of no two lessons are the same, and there's quite a lot of variation of kind of task and kind of activity going on there as well. And then the question about what film studies entails. So I sort of alluded to this earlier, and this kind of came up in the chat thread a little bit. I think probably the closest thing to film studies that you might be familiar with would be English literature. The fundamental difference is, rather than looking at kind of written works as our sort of objects of study, we look at films, and obviously we'll do a lot of kind of analysis of those films. We'll do a lot of writing about those films, and we'll do a lot of kind of study of the context from which those films were kind of produced. So kind of social context, historical context, institutional context, and that kind of thing. And then I've noticed there's a question about exams at the end of the BTEC. So Shanti, maybe you could briefly talk through that one. And it's in the BTEC.
So for the digital video and film production, there is one exam in the second year responding to a commission. So students will sit that in January. Prior to this, though, however, they will have quite a long period. So usually from the end of November, we'll start to get them prepared for the exam. So they will get the brief from the examining board. So this year it's dropping on the 12th of December. So once we have the brief, students and the teacher, we're allowed to have a look at it together, discuss it, think about what they're going to do for it. And then there is designated preparation time. So students are not going to go into it blindly without knowing. There is a lot of prep done before that, and they have time to prepare assets or create whatever they need to create in time for the exam. It is under exam conditions. So on the day of the exam, students will only be allowed to take in to the exam whatever they have prepared. They will not have things like internet connection, anything like that. Everything will be secure, and then they will have a certain number of hours to complete it. And it's the same thing with the other exam that they have as well. And the other exam is in the second year, but this is usually May, June time. And that one's a bit more of a practical one in comparison to the responded to commission, which is more written and it's more of a presentation style. The one that is more practical is the digital media skills, where students again will have to respond to a brief that is given by the exam board. They will have time to prepare, but it will be more of I'll give you an example. For example, create a 1-minute video promoting or highlighting diversity in your college, for example. So it could be something like that. So they'll have sufficient prep time and also time to actually put together their work and then submit it. Students who receive extra time, that will also be taken into consideration when they sit these 2 exams as well.
Brilliant, thank you. And then I think the final question we'll probably have time for this evening is the one about Stavon's experience of his studies so far at college, and kind of what's good, what's not so good, and perhaps what's difficult. So I think, Stavon, you're probably the most appropriate person to answer that one.
Yeah, what's good about the studies that I do? We do get a lot of time to do research for our courses, for like our learning assignments, and it's a lot of practical as well. But what is difficult is that we do get a lot, like a total handful of work, but it is worth it because we do get a lot of time to we do get a lot of time to like work on it and everything. And overall, with the studies here, it has helped me improve because I came into Isha with no experience of film at all, but now I'm one of not to brag, but I'm now one of the best students in my subject in my course. But yeah, you can have no film experience at all, but literally come here, and then the teachers, lovely teachers, will help you. And if you're stuck, just go to them, they'll help you, and you can easily succeed, get loads of distinctions, and easily become one of the best, like me. So yeah, my experience here is very awesome. I like it. And don't worry too much about the courses, whatever one you pick, like the subject that you picked, film, TV, digital media. Don't worry about it, because overall it's kind of all the same with workload. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stefan. That's very thorough. So I think that takes us up until the end of the session. So hopefully we've managed to kind of answer everyone's question there. This video should be saved, and our head of marketing is going to make them available should anyone kind of wish to watch them back if they haven't managed to catch the start of it. So hopefully we've managed to answer everyone's question there, and obviously we hope to see you all again soon. Thank you for joining us.